I want to start today's video a little bit differently. I'm going to tell you a story to illustrate a point. There are two families, two couples, in which both husbands are alcoholics. They come home every day from work drunk, stopping at the bar first. And this goes on for years. They incur all kinds of expenses, medical expenses, DUI, legal fees, court fees, you name it. The bills keep raging. Finally, both women decide to file for divorce. But in going through the divorce process, the husbands both decide to go to AA, declare themselves alcoholics, and to stop drinking. And so they don't get divorced. They hold it together. Now, it's not a straight shot, not a straight line. The men go through weeks, months, sometimes backsliding, but then always making progress forward. The drinking begins maybe only on weekends, and then maybe once a month, and several months go by before they drink again. And finally, both men achieve a 1-year sobriety at AA. They celebrate it at their meeting. They both go home. Bob comes home, his wife meets him. She's made a nice dinner, and she's got a big banner in the living room that she's made. It says, "Congratulations, Bob, on your 1-year sobriety." And she tells Bob, she says, "Boy, we had some really tough times together. Your DUIs and your times you ended up in the hospital and court costs and so forth. It was tough, and we almost got divorced because of it. But you showed that you could change, and you went to AA. And it hasn't been easy, but you've stuck with it. And now you've achieved 1 year sobriety. You're so much better now than you were when we first got married. I like the new Bob. Keep it up." Steve comes home, and he doesn't get greeted with a dinner or even a banner. His wife has instead chosen to pull out all the receipts that she has saved over the years, every single court case, legal fee, insurance costs, the times that he had to use Uber because he couldn't drive to work anymore. Just incredible bills that she has saved and stored away. And now she's added them all up, and it's quite a big amount of money, and she has divided it in half, and she presents them and says, "This is the half you owe me. I want you to get a second job and pay me back because I deserve it." Now, I use this story because basically it's a good illustration of how two people can use what's called retrospection. Retrospection is good. It can be good. It can also be bad. It all depends on your goal. Bob's wife's goal was to encourage, to relish in how much change has occurred and how much better he is and how happy she is. Steve's wife isn't interested in that. Her goal is not a better marriage. Her goal is justice. Which marriage do you think is going to last? I think you know. Now, the reason why I tell this is because today, there are people today saying we need to look back at our nation's history. And they want to rewrite history, and they want to focus on the slavery part. They declare that we were a racist nation, that the Constitution was racist, and everything was racist, and everything we did towards the blacks, and up to this day, is nothing. Sort of like Steve's wife, not seeing the change that has occurred over the years, only summing up all the bad stuff and ignoring all the good. And that's why I ask these people today who want to, take an honest look at history. What is your goal? Bob's wife or Steve's wife? I think I know. I think you know too. Your goal is to destroy, not build up our country, but to denigrate it. See, I know our country is not perfect. Yes, half the country wanted to still keep slavery. The other half did not. And we had to make compromises to keep it together. Just like that marriage had to take certain compromises to keep it together as well. It almost divorced us in Civil War, but we kept it together. It was painful. Costs were made on both halves because of this problem, this addiction to that one side had to slavery. So, looking back, yes, we weren't perfect, but we have steadily, like Bob and Steve, steadily gotten better and better. We need to honor that, not put it down. I kind of wonder why so many people today are so interested in browbeating our history. And I've come to the realization that it's basically psychological tyranny. It's sort of like an abusive parent. If you ever hear of anybody who's endured an abusive parent, most of the time the parent starts off with what's called psychological abuse, calling the child worthless, stupid, lazy, evil, putting down everything that they do. Why is that? Because any abuser knows that you first have to destroy the soul to get control of the body. Once you've destroyed the soul, the body won't resist you anymore, won't fight back. And that's really what's at the heart here with our own country, is people want to destroy the soul of our country, denigrate it to the point where it no longer fights for what was good. I mean, think about it. The people of France gave us this wonderful Statue of Liberty that sits now in the New York Harbor. Why? Because what we gave to the world was something nobody had ever seen before. Liberty. And people who think that the Statue of Liberty stands for the United States, you're wrong. It stands for liberty. Just like if I asked you who's buried in Grant's tomb, the answer is in the question. Of course, it's Grant. Yet the Statue of Liberty so often is misrepresented as the United States. No. It's a challenge to all the other countries to throw away your kings, your monarchs, your class systems, all those broken systems that don't work, including socialism. And try this. Give your people freedom. But see, today, freedom's not a very nice word in many circles. We've turned it into a bad word, And many of these people who are browbeating us want us to put our shackles back on. So again, I turn back to that. Whenever you see somebody talking about our history, talk about an honest look at our history, ask yourself, is that Bob's wife talking to encourage, or Steve's wife to destroy? I leave that with you. For now, I hope everyone just stays healthy, stays happy, stays free.